Hello everyone and welcome back to Deansbury Town. Slightly different video this week. I'm trying to put these together a little bit quicker than it's taken me in the past, and I've not managed to do a tremendous amount of modelling since the last video. So really what I want to talk about this week is the little bits that I have done and the progress I've made in the back scene. I've got a little bit of an update on what I'd like to do in the future regarding my control panel and my points control here. And then over this side of the layout, just talk you through some possible ideas or thoughts I might have about extending the layout in the future, just to give me a bit more room to manoeuvre. So some of the modelling I've actually managed to get done since the last video is mainly in this corner behind the loco depot and the factory. Following some feedback and some of the comments I got on the Backscenes video, it felt to some people that it was a bit kind of cramped in here, and I've had a little bit of a think about what I could do with this area. So in summary, I've actually mocked up the back of a works building, bit of inspiration from a potteries style works here, and with a boiler house at the back, and then just the back of some units here to make this into the kind of the backs of a factory that would back onto the road in the front. And I've moved the railway works around the side, and I've actually ripped up the retaining wall. What I need to do is obviously make a new wall to just patch in the holes there, and we're just going to have a gate in the background. I might then also put a chimney in the corner to partially sort of disguise the joints in the board. I'm going to keep the depot and the fuel point. I think I quite like those. I like the depot building and the scenery. It's not entirely prototypical in the fact it comes straight off the main line into the depot, but I'm beyond kind of ripping up the track and redoing that in its entirety, so that's going to stay. But I think thanks to the comments on the previous video, I've had a bit of a think about this, and I think it overall should give a bit more kind of sense of purpose and a slightly more let's say realistic layout. I see a lot of industrial buildings kind of backed onto the corners of railway lines, and it fills the sort of triangular space quite nice. So that's the kind of modelling progress we've made since the last video. A lot of it's been on Inkscape, sort of mocking up this building, and I've just managed to cut out the windows for it tonight. So next job's to kind of finish off the cover layers on that one. I'm pretty happy with the size and shape of it, so that will progress, and I'm going to keep these ones in the corner pretty simple. Not too much cutting out of those, mainly just kind of brick backs of the sort of factory style buildings there. Another update, I've got a couple of extra little bits of rolling stock for the layout. We've got Mark 1 brake coach, a standard or second, I think that's an open coach, just check what that actually is. Yeah, second open coach there. That's in the older sort of blood and custard livery, as is the brake. Just trying to mix things up a little bit. And then I think we've got a tourist second open maroon there in the maroon livery from Bachmann. Those coaches will go into the sort of general pool here. It's largely, we've got Mark 1s at the back here, a couple of brake vehicles, composite, and then some Southern Region coaches here. I think I'm going to put together some sort of kind of tourist or charter train from the Southern Region on an excursion perhaps. And then we've got the Dapol X Airfix, I think, Mark 1 Suburban stock. So these are the clipped together kits which I've clipped together and weathered. They're not fully finished yet. I've put a few people inside them. The roofs need attaching, and I need to fit some couplings. I haven't quite decided which couplings to use, but they're my kind of commuter suburban stock here. So the coaches I've just bought give me a bit more kind of flexibility and realism to make up a couple of slightly longer rakes, or divvy the coaches up to make a number of 2 and 3 coach sets. The final bit of new rolling stock I've got, not specifically for this layout, but it's the Hornby Pickett centenary locomotive. I just really like the look of this, really sort of well done, small industrial locomotive. possible plans for a small kind of shunting layout to sit on the shelves, maybe something in the future. Yeah, just I really like the look of this little thing. I'm not a huge collector of rolling stock and actual locomotives. I've tended to only buy mostly the kind of things that I'm going to use on the layout. I've got 3F and 4F, a little 1P there I think it is, or a 1F, 4MT, and then the 264 tank at the back. I don't have vast collections of other rolling stock, so this was a bit of a treat to myself. Really well packaged. I'm not going to be doing kind of locomotive reviews. I just get far too few of them to be of any interest to people. But if there's interest in this one, I'm more than happy we'll get it out and have a little run on the test plank, and we'll get it on the layout. But I haven't got a DCC chip for this yet. I think it's a Hornby 4-pin, but I may see if I can get a sound chip for that locomotive. So yeah, that's it. Little Christmas treat there, or post Christmas treat, shall we say, in the Pickett. One job on the layout that I've been meaning to do for quite a long time is sort out this mess here, which is kind of the control panel area. All the points on LED controls go through these D connectors into the back of my control panel here, and that loosely sort of fits in there. The problem is with that fixed in position, I struggle to reach the back of the layout. So I have to keep taking this off, which means I can't really operate the points of the layout while I'm doing any work on it. The actual control panel itself is functional, but you can see the white has really gone off and looking quite dirty. And obviously I've just used kind of black tape here, and that's peeling off. So it's kind of beyond its sort of sell by date really. So the problem is it took quite a long time to put together, and I had to individually solder all of the connections in there, which I did quite early on. Didn't really think of using heat shrink. Surprisingly, I've had no problem with it, but it could do with a bit of work. I quite like the manual sort of DC point control with just throw switches for either direction, and then corresponding direction LED lights up. I've tended to try and use sort of green for the main routes, and then red if we've got a diversionary route showing. Since I built the control panel, I then changed my DCC controller. So originally this had inputs here for 24 volts for the CDU for the point motors, had a separate 15 volt supply for the LEDs, and then the track power went in here as well from the old Hornby Select that I started off with. Since then I've moved on to the NCE power cab, so that has its own input here into the layout, which is sort of added on to the side, and then I put this rotary switch in which kind of controls power. It's sort of got an on off in the center. One position is power to the main layout, and then second position via a relay under the baseboard puts power into the fiddle yard just to get it into this center portion of track here, which is the programming track. So that kind of the idea is that protects this track from being used for programming while the rest of the layout's on, so you don't cause problems with the rest of the trains. But it's a bit of a mess. I've put some LEDs into each feed. I've never got that working properly, and this being a cheap switch off eBay, what I've found is when I'm going from one position to the other, if I don't do it nice and slow, one set of contacts will make before the first one breaks, and therefore what I found with my DCC is I get a lot of shorts on that, and the whole layout sort of grinds to a halt. So one of the projects I'd like to do is to replace all of this with a new control panel, similar in size to this, perhaps a little bit bigger, to incorporate the inputs here, this rotary switch for the programming track, but also I'm planning on installing some building lights here, and obviously in the rest of the buildings around here. This isn't something I'd contemplated before. Always thought it was probably too difficult, but I think having seen quite a lot of other people do it on their layouts, obviously it makes a massive difference to the look and feel of the layout, and is, with a lot of the pre-soldered LEDs and the copper tape now, not too difficult. So in the new control panel, I'm going to incorporate a set of switches there for controlling the various LED lights around the layout. So I've got some ideas on boxes, so I'm going to hopefully do a separate video on that. I don't know how long it's going to take, because it's quite a big job to resolder all that. I'm doing a bit of research on trying to find some either better connectors or kind of more pre-made connectors, because that was one of the big challenges in soldering all that up. But I think I can do a much neater job now with this than I had done in the past. So hopefully that'll be a video that will be useful. Kind of one of the reasons for thinking about the control panel is the points. The points of the layout are controlled by SEEP solenoid motors. Just nip down here. We've got solenoid motors for each of the points, and using the contact switch on those, what I've done is I feed back to the LEDs on the panel. What this means though is the frogs are only powered from the contact rails on the switch blades, and because I don't use the layout that much for running, I'm always having to clean it. These are not ideal. So what I think I'm going to try and do, I'm going to test it on a couple of these points here in the goods yard, is to lift the points up and then wire in the frogs so they are connected to the stock rails here. And then I'm looking to, I've got a couple of little relays, looking to see if I can rewire this so that the power from the CDU that throws the point motor also throws the coil in the relay, which then operates the contacts to switch the power in the frogs. So I think that's hopefully going to be the plan. So what I'm going to try and do is get that tested in the next few weeks, and hopefully that will be successful, and then I'll get round to rolling that out to all the other points. I think I've shied away from doing any big alterations in that area because of the hassle of getting the points up, but the problems I'm having with just relying on the point blades for contact mean I'm never going to get over that problem unless I do something about it. And actually a little bit of hot water on the ballast should sort of soften the glue up, and there's not that many points on the layout anyway, and most of them are in the goods yard area. We've got the 4 over here in front of the depot, and then there's just 1 over this side as you come out the goods loop back onto the main line there. So that's a piece of work for the future. Hopefully do some videos on how we get on with the switchboard, and also the energizing of the frogs. Not ideal, but something I think I need to do. Since doing the first video on this channel, it's given me some useful feedback in the comments that people have given. I've already decided to change the backscene in this area here to make it perhaps a tiny bit more realistic and not quite as sort of squeezed in as it was. But one of the other bits of idea that I've had is the railway was originally sized to go in a different room. I've been fortunate to have the space available here, but what it has also sort of left me with this extra bit of space down the side of the railway, and I've never really thought about having an extension here. I've always kind of thought of keeping the railway as it is, but yeah, some of the comments gave me the opportunity to have a think about the fact that nothing else is going in there. So is it worth considering an extension to the layout? Couple of things. I've got shelves above with various bits of boxes on, etc. up here. What I've got in the longer term plan is on the the first of those shelves, or the middle row of shelves around about eye level height, is a smaller narrow gauge railway, completely separate to the main 00 gauge railway below, but a narrow gauge 009 railway running round in a kind of U shape there. So I'd like to keep a bit of space for that, and originally I was going to focus it on this wall here, but obviously the fiddle yard is going to make any access to that pretty tricky. So I kind of reconfigured the plans, and that's likely to be focused on the back wall there and this wall here. And although it is above the layout with a small step, I think that'll be more than accessible enough. So what to do with this area? Couple of challenges. The fiddle yard here has got 12 roads at the moment. If I move it out to its kind of maximum extent so we can make use of 11 and 12 road, obviously it is just shy of the wall. So any permanent structure there, or any idea to retain the fiddle yard with that many roads means difficult to realign these tracks and actually make use of the fiddle yard. I could just extend this completely in a scenic fashion, which could be quite nice, especially with the town over the back there, and just keep the layout, the tracks as it is. Another point with the tracks is to get them round to the fiddle yard, they need to be coming off the layout in line with the edge of this baseboard here, so straight onto the fiddle yard. And I've worked it out, although I've got quite a nice shallow-ish curve in the back here, it doesn't really matter what I do with this area here. Even if I bring the curve right out to this wall, this still needs to be effectively kind of third and fourth radius curves, which is approximately what they are, because I need to go from this direction, turn through 90 degrees to get onto the fiddle yard. And even though I've got a longer run to do it, if I make this bit of the curve more shallow, this bit here has to be tighter at the end, and therefore even tighter than a third radius, which I don't really want to do. So I don't get any benefit in terms of curvature. I might get a bit more scenery in there, possibly, but I don't think there's that much value in actually moving these tracks. I think it might be more valuable just to put some more scenery here, so it doesn't look like the railway's about to run off the end of the earth. If anyone's got any kind of comments or feedback or thoughts on any ideas of what to do with that, please do leave them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to hear them and build them into the plans. Often with the comments, it's not that you take them exactly as they are, but they certainly give you another idea to think about and another idea to put in the mix. I had considered using this space at the back here to perhaps bring a line off the back here, drop it down to a lower level to go underneath, but I think I'm going to struggle with the gradients here, just getting them manageable from kind of end here to the far end is only 8 feet long. I need to get down around about 4 inches, so in the region of sort of 70 to 80 centimetres, and I just don't think I've got enough space to get down, do anything meaningful underneath the layout, and then and find a room to get back up again as well, even if I did something under the town. I've obviously got to clear the trains, we've got to go down and under the baseboard. And I've got quite a lot of storage under there as well, so I don't think that's a credible option. Same with going up, really. There's nowhere to go up, and there's just not enough room here for a helix of a decent size. So I think I'm largely going to stick with a one level, but again, be really interested to hear if anyone's got any ideas for that. The distance along the back there is about seven and a bit feet, and so along from the corner of the town there to the corner of the room is just, it's about 7 foot 8, 7 foot 9, I think. And then from the corner of the layout here through the fiddle yard to the end is 8 feet. So that's kind of what we've got to work with. I don't think any major surgery is likely, but perhaps just an extension of the scenic areas just to make it look a bit more. Obviously I could bring this road bridge over here and therefore block out the fiddle yard a bit more to make this more of a scenic viewpoint. The other thing to consider as well is that is the operating space there in the corner. So whatever I do, I need to get underneath there, in and out all the time, which is not ideal, but sometimes it might be better with having this fiddle yard kind of fixed so I know where it is so I don't bash my head. But there we go. Any thoughts, please do let me know. I think we'll draw this video to a close here. If you've enjoyed it, or if you've got any feedback on the content or the style of the video, I'll be only too pleased to hear from you. Any feedback helps me improve my videos for the future. Still messing around with what works best for me in terms of content and style and editing. It's all a bit of a learning curve, so I do really value any feedback you've got. I'll leave you with a couple of shots of trains running. Bye for now.